This is a No4 Mk1 starter motor removed from an Alvis Stalwart Mk1 vehicle. The motor had flooded out and had therefore stopped working. These are the feeds to the motor, the main power feeds, the positive here and the negative here. And this braided cable, which connects to the motor through this Plessy type twist connector, this energises the solenoid when the starter switch is pressed. This is a 2-pin plug, but in this installation only one of these pins is actually used, and that is the pin marked A. The solenoid feed is carried back through the main negative return. Now this starter motor is used on, or was used on, a number of different engines from the Rolls-Royce range, the B80, the B81, and I gather that the same starter motor was also used on vehicles like the Daimler Ferret with the B60 engine. And on all these military versions of the engine, the leads were covered with this braided type sheathing to provide electrical screening for the radio interference suppression. One of the things I've done has been to run a new wire up the inside of this solenoid cable, and that necessitated taking this Plessy connector apart, and that's quite possible. It's a bit fiddly, with lots of little seals and springs and bits and pieces in here, but it's now turning nice and freely, and it's got a nice new soldered joint inside it, and I've replaced, as I say, the cable with a new piece of 18 amp wire. And although the solenoid circuit only draws about 6 amps when the starter button is pressed, I think it's good to put a nice new piece of wire in there. So I'll just connect that back up. Has a very nice firm locking action there. And this end is the solenoid switch. This mechanism had been submerged in water for a couple of months, and by the time I got to it, it was completely seized solid, rusted and so on. So I managed to free that up, clean the contacts, replace the insulation on the wiring, and I've also resoldered onto this, onto the inside of the plug here. That's the solenoid feed wire. At the moment I've got this connected up to 2 small batteries, nominally 12 volt and 6 volt respectively, and together in series they're putting out about 19.5 volts, and I've got them connected up to the main terminals on the starter motor. So this is the state that the motor is in when the vehicle is powered up with the main master switch closed, so these terminals are permanently live. So when I connect the solenoid, it should kick into life. First of all, before doing that, I'm going to actually disconnect the main positive feed temporarily, and I'm just going to check the operation of the solenoid switch. So if I energise the solenoid switch, yeah, you get a nice clunk. And now I'm going to reconnect the main positive feed to the motor. Now these small batteries, they should give it enough to turn over, but they're not too much current so as to be dangerous. Obviously you wouldn't normally run a starter motor on no load. I'm going to do that with these small batteries here. Seems to be working.